The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky hills of Haven's Edge Colony. Lieutenant Lisa Martinez adjusted her helmet and checked her rifle one more time. She had done this patrol 100 times before, but something felt different today. The air was too quiet. Even the local birds had stopped singing. "All units, report status," Lisa spoke into her comm device. Her squad of 12 Marines was spread across the valley, checking the perimeter sensors that protected the small human settlement. "Alpha Team clear," came the voice of Captain Jake Sullivan from the Eastern Ridge. "Beta Team all good here," reported Staff Sergeant Maria Santos from the Western Approach. Lisa nodded and continued walking along the main path. Haven's Edge was one of humanity's newer colonies, home to about 3,000 civilians who worked the mineral mines and farming stations. It was peaceful work, far from the political troubles of Earth. That was why people came here. The first sign of trouble was a shadow moving across the sun. Lisa looked up and saw something that made her blood run cold. A massive ship was descending through the clouds. It was red like dried blood, with strange curves and angles that hurt to look at. The hull seemed to shimmer and move as if it was alive. "Command, this is Martinez. We have unknown contact approaching Haven's Edge. Large vessel possibly hostile." Static answered her. Lisa tried again. "Command, do you copy?" Nothing but electronic noise came through her earpiece. The red ship settled onto the ground with a sound like thunder. Steam rose from where its landing gear touched the earth. Lisa could see other Marines running toward her position from across the valley, but they looked small and helpless compared to the alien vessel. A door opened in the side of the ship with a hiss of escaping gas. The creatures that emerged were like nothing Lisa had ever seen. They stood 7 feet tall on powerful legs. Their skin was covered in dark green scales that reflected the sunlight. Each one wore armor that seemed to be made from some kind of metal that shifted colors as they moved. Their faces were the worst part. They looked almost like giant lizards, but their eyes held intelligence. Cold, calculating intelligence. And something else. Hunger. "Stay back," Lisa shouted, raising her rifle. "This is a human colony. State your business." One of the aliens stepped forward. It wore more decorative armor than the others, with symbols carved into the chest plate. When it spoke, the words came from a small device attached to its neck. "Greetings, humans. I am Huntmaster Varric of the Kethvar Empire. We have traveled far to reach your world." Lisa kept her weapon trained on the alien leader. Her squad had formed a defensive line behind her, but they were badly outnumbered. At least 20 aliens had emerged from the ship and more were coming. "What do you want?" Lisa demanded. The alien's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We want sport. We want a challenge. Your species has been observed, and we believe you may provide adequate entertainment." "Entertainment? A hunt human. On our preserve world, we have created the perfect environment for testing warrior skills. Your people will be given weapons and a fair chance to reach safety. We will pursue you according to the ancient traditions." Lisa felt her stomach drop. "You want to hunt us? It is a great honor," the alien said. "Many species have been tested in our preserves. Few have provided memorable sport. But humans show promise. You fight when cornered. You use tools in interesting ways. You may actually last more than one day." Before Lisa could respond, the aliens raised weapons that looked like silver tubes. Blue energy crackled at the tips. "You will come with us now," Huntmaster Varric announced. "Resistance will result in immediate death, which would deny you the honor of the hunt." Lisa's training kicked in. She dove to the left as the first energy blast scorched the ground where she had been standing. "All units, engage, engage!" The battle was over in minutes. Human bullets bounced off alien armor like raindrops. The energy weapons cut through trees and rocks like they were made of paper. One by one, Lisa watched her friends and fellow Marines fall. Captain Jake Sullivan went down when an energy blast caught him in the shoulder. He was still alive but unconscious. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos managed to destroy one alien's weapon with a well-placed shot before 3 others stunned her with some kind of electric net. Lisa found herself surrounded. Her rifle was empty and she had no more ammunition. Corporal Ryan Blake was on the ground beside her, breathing but unable to move. Private Kevin Ross was bleeding from a head wound, but his eyes were still defiant. Only 5 of her original 12 Marines were still alive. Excellent, Huntmaster Varric said, walking among the human survivors. 5 warriors. This will provide several hours of entertainment. The aliens loaded the humans onto their ship like cargo. Lisa tried to memorize everything she saw. The inside of the vessel was decorated with what looked like trophies. Skulls and bones from dozens of different species hung on the walls. Some were small like birds. Others were massive, from creatures that must have been the size of elephants. Previous hunts, the alien leader explained, noticing her stare. Some provided good sport. Others were disappointing. The small blue creatures from Epsilon 7 lasted only 30 minutes. The large herbivores from the Gamma system ran in circles until we grew bored. Why? Lisa asked through gritted teeth. Why do this? Because we are Kethvar, the alien replied as if that explained everything. We are hunters. We are warriors. Without the hunt, we are nothing, and the galaxy has become peaceful, boring. Most species surrender before we even land. They offer tribute, trade agreements, technology. Where is the honor in that? The ship lifted off from Haven's Edge. Through a small window, Lisa could see the human colony growing smaller below them. She wondered if the civilians had escaped, if anyone would know what happened here. Your destination is Zirian Prime's 3rd moon, Huntmaster Varric continued. A perfect hunting ground. Dense jungle, dangerous native animals, limited water sources. The terrain will test your skills. Lisa looked at her injured teammates. Jake was still unconscious. Maria was awake, but her left arm hung at an odd angle. Ryan seemed steady despite the energy weapon burn on his leg. Kevin was the youngest of them all, barely 20 years old, but he met her eyes with determination. How long do we have? She asked. 3 solar cycles to reach the extraction point. If you survive, you will be returned to your people as honored warriors. If not... The alien gestured toward the trophy wall. Lisa nodded slowly. 3 days to cross unknown terrain while being hunted by superior technology. 3 days to keep her people alive. What none of them knew was that Lisa's helmet camera had been recording everything. The signal was already racing through space toward Earth, carrying every word, every image of what had happened to the human Marines. The hunt was about to begin. The message reached Earth Command at exactly 1400 hours ship time. Admiral Catherine Brooks was reviewing supply reports when her communication officer burst through the door of her office without knocking. Admiral, you need to see this immediately, Lieutenant Commander Nancy Phillips said, her face pale. Brooks looked up from her desk. Phillips had been with her for 3 years and had never shown this kind of panic before. What is it? Signal from Haven's Edge, ma'am. Marine helmet camera footage. It's bad. Brooks followed Phillips to the main communication center. The large screen at the front of the room showed a frozen image of Lieutenant Lisa Martinez's face inside her helmet. Her expression was focused and alert, the way Marines looked during routine patrols. This came through the quantum relay 20 minutes ago, Phillips explained. The signal cut out when their ship left the planet's atmosphere, but we got almost the entire encounter. Play it. Brooks watched in growing horror as the events unfolded. The alien ship landing, the creatures that emerged, the calm way their leader explained that humans were going to be hunted for sport, the brief battle, the capture of 5 Marines. When the recording ended, the communication center was completely silent. Get me General Peter Hayes, Brooks said, quietly. And Dr. Helen Carter. Emergency meeting in 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Brooks stared at the frozen image on the screen. She had been in the military for 28 years. She had seen war, piracy, and terrorism. But this was something different. This was a species that treated intelligent beings like animals to be hunted for entertainment. General Hayes arrived, first. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his days as a Marine. Dr. Carter came in right behind him, still wearing her lab coat from the xenobiology department. Tell me you've seen the footage, Brooks said without greeting. I have, Hayes replied grimly. My people are analyzing it now. Dr. Carter nodded. I've been studying the alien language patterns and technology visible in the recording. The translation device they use suggests a highly advanced civilization, advanced enough to hunt humans for fun, Hayes said. Brooks activated the wall display and brought up a star map. Haven's Edge is here, about 40 light-years from Earth. The aliens said they were taking our people to something called Xerion Prime. That matches the Kethvar system, Dr. Carter said. We made first contact with them 6 months ago. They seemed interested in peaceful trade. Apparently, their idea of trade involves using us as target practice, Brooks said coldly. The door opened and Colonel Steve Morrison entered. He commanded Earth's Special Operations Forces and looked like he had been running. I came as soon as I heard. How many of our people do they have? 5 Marines, Hayes answered. But that's not the point. The point is they think they can treat humans like animals. Morrison studied the star map. What do we know about their military capabilities? Dr. Carter pulled up another display showing the analysis of the alien ship and weapons. Their plasma technology is more advanced than ours. Their ship shielding appears to be nearly impenetrable by conventional weapons. However, their tactics seem to rely heavily on individual combat and honor codes. Honor codes? Brooks asked. From what I observed in the footage, they see warfare as a form of art or sport. They give their prey weapons and a fair chance because it makes the hunt more interesting. They follow rules. Morrison laughed, but there was no humor in it. They're about to learn that humans don't follow rules in war. Brooks turned to face the group. I want options, all of them. Diplomatic response, Dr. Carter said immediately. We contact their government, demand the return of our people, threaten economic sanctions. They just told us they hunt sentient beings for entertainment, Hayes pointed out. I don't think they care about economic sanctions. Morrison moved to the display and began highlighting systems. Military response. We have the new experimental ships coming online next month. Antimatter warheads, jump drives that can put us in their system before they know we're coming. How many Kethvar worlds are we talking about? Brooks asked. Intelligence reports 14 colony worlds and 3 major population centers, Morrison replied. Total population approximately 20 billion. Dr. Carter stared at him. You're talking about attacking an entire civilization because of the actions of one group. I'm talking about sending a message, Morrison corrected. The moment they decided to hunt humans, they declared war on our entire species. Brooks was quiet for a long moment, staring at the star map. Finally, she spoke. Get me a direct line to the president. The call took 30 minutes. The president listened to the recording twice, asked detailed questions about Kethvar military capabilities, and then gave his answer. Authorization granted for Operation Retribution. Use any and all necessary force. Brooks looked around the room. Gentlemen, Doctor, we are now at war. Steve, I want every experimental weapon we have ready for deployment within 48 hours. Peter, mobilize all available ships and personnel. Helen, I need everything you know about Kethvar psychology and culture. Admiral, Dr. Carter said hesitantly. Shouldn't we try diplomacy first? Maybe this hunting group doesn't represent their entire government. Doctor, they broadcast this hunt as entertainment to their homeworld, Brooks replied. This isn't the action of a few rogue individuals. This is their culture, and cultures can be changed. Morrison was already activating his communication device. I'll have strike teams ready to deploy in 36 hours. What are our rules of engagement? Brooks thought about the trophy room Lisa Martinez had seen. Skulls and bones from dozens of species, creatures that had been hunted and killed for sport. No rules, she said finally. They want to hunt. Let them learn what it means to be prey. Over the next 24 hours, Earth transformed itself into a war machine. Every ship in the fleet was recalled and armed. The experimental antimatter weapons that had been in testing for 3 years were loaded onto the newest vessels. The jump drive technology that could move ships instantly across space was installed and calibrated. In research facilities across Earth, scientists worked around the clock to develop new weapons, chemical agents that could penetrate Kethvar biology. computer viruses designed to crash their technology, psychological warfare techniques to break their will to fight. The Kethvar had expected to find easy prey among the humans. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping in Earth's military for decades: the cold, calculating ability to wage total war. Admiral Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Around her, the crew prepared for the jump to Kethvar space. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Phillips announced. Brooks looked at the display showing their destination: the Kethvar home system, peaceful and unsuspecting. In a few hours, that would change forever. "Begin the jump," she ordered. The stars shifted, and humanity went to war. The alien jungle was nothing like Earth. The trees grew in twisted spirals reaching toward a red sun that hung like a bloody eye in the purple sky. Strange flowers bloomed with colors that had no names, and the air smelled of copper and decay. Lisa Martinez crouched behind a fallen log, watching the Kethvar hunting party move through the undergrowth below. 3 days had passed since they were dropped into this nightmare, and only 4 of her Marines were still alive. They had lost Private Kevin Ross on the first day. The young Marine had stepped on something that looked like a normal branch, but it had exploded upward like a spring trap. The alien plant had wrapped around his leg and started dissolving his armor with acid. By the time they cut him free, the wound was too severe. He died quietly that night, apologizing for slowing them down. 2 hunters, moving east, whispered Sergeant Tony Garcia from his position 10 meters away. He had proven surprisingly good at this deadly game of hide-and-seek. His background growing up in the mountains of Colorado had taught him how to move silently and set traps. Lisa nodded and hand-signaled the information to the others. Captain Jake Sullivan was still weak from his wound, but he could fight. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos had fashioned a sling for her broken arm and learned to shoot left-handed. They were battered and exhausted, but they were still alive. The Kethvar hunting party consisted of 6 aliens armed with their plasma weapons. They moved through the jungle like they owned it, which Lisa supposed they did. Their armor helped them push through the thick vegetation, and their weapons could cut down trees if needed. What the hunters didn't know was that humans were very good at learning. Lisa had studied the aliens carefully during their first encounters. The Kethvar were proud warriors who valued individual skill above group tactics. They spread out when hunting, each one trying to claim the glory of the kill. Their armor was strong, but had weak points at the joints. Their weapons were powerful, but took several seconds to recharge after firing. Most importantly, they expected their prey to run. Lisa checked her improvised explosive device one more time. Tony had shown her how to make bombs using their emergency supplies and pieces of alien equipment they had scavenged. The device was crude, but it would work. She waited until the first Kethvar hunter passed directly below her hiding spot. Then, she dropped the bomb. The explosion echoed through the jungle like thunder. The alien was thrown 20 feet through the air and crashed into a tree. His armor was cracked, and strange green blood leaked from the gaps. "Now!" Lisa shouted. The ambush was perfect. Jake and Maria opened fire from the left flank while Tony attacked from the right. The remaining Kethvar hunters tried to return fire, but they were caught in the open with no cover. Within minutes, 3 more aliens lay dead on the jungle floor. Lisa dropped from her tree and quickly gathered alien weapons and equipment. The plasma rifles were too large for human hands, but they had learned to modify the power settings. The alien armor couldn't fit human bodies, but pieces of it could be used as shields. "That's 7 hunters down in 3 days, Jake said, checking his captured plasma weapon. "They're going to start taking us seriously." "Good," Lisa replied, grimly. "Let them know we're not helpless prey." What she didn't know was that the hunt was being broadcast live to the Kethvar homeworld. Millions of aliens watched their entertainment screens as the humans systematically destroyed hunting party after hunting party. The broadcasts had started as amusing sport, but now they were becoming embarrassing. "These creatures fight without honor," complained Noble Thekvar, one of the high-ranking officials watching from the capital city. They used traps and ambushes instead of facing death with dignity. Huntmaster Varric studied the latest reports from Zerion Prime. He had lost 12 hunters in 3 days to 5 humans armed with primitive weapons. It was unprecedented. Perhaps we underestimated them, suggested his aide. Should we increase the hunting party size? No, Varric said slowly. That would admit weakness. But add the war beasts to the next group. If these humans want to play with traps, we shall show them what real predators can do. Back in the jungle, Lisa's team had found a defensible position in a cave system near a freshwater stream. They had managed to create a small camp where they could rest and plan their next moves. The extraction point is still 12 kilometers north, Lisa said, studying the map they had taken from a dead hunter. We have 4 days left. Tony was working on another explosive device using alien power cells. I don't think they're going to let us just walk to the pickup zone, he said. They're probably setting up an ambush. Then we'll have to go around, Maria suggested. Her left arm was healing, but she could barely lift it above her shoulder. Jake shook his head. They know the terrain better than we do. Every route to the extraction point probably has hunters waiting. Lisa looked at the alien weapons they had collected. 7 plasma rifles, various pieces of equipment, and a communication device that occasionally crackled with Kethvar voices. Maybe we don't need to reach the extraction point, she said slowly. The others stared at her. Think about it, they're broadcasting this hunt as entertainment. That means there are cameras, recording equipment, probably a command ship in orbit. What if instead of running to their pickup zone, we make them come to us? Tony grinned. You want to take the fight to them? I want to send a message, Lisa corrected. Every species they hunt just tries to survive until the time limit. But humans don't just survive. We adapt. We fight back. We make the hunters become the hunted. Over the next few hours, they prepared their final stand. Tony rigged explosive charges around the cave entrance and in the trees above. Jake and Maria set up overlapping fields of fire using the captured plasma weapons. Lisa used the alien communication device to broadcast a message on all frequencies. The message was simple. Come and get us. The response was immediate. Lisa could hear the sound of aircraft approaching through the jungle canopy. Heavy footsteps crashed through the undergrowth as a new hunting party approached their position. But this time, the hunters had brought friends. Lisa saw the war beasts first. They looked like crosses between tigers and crocodiles, each one the size of a small car. Their scales were black as night, and their eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. 6 of the creatures prowled around the cave entrance while their Kethvar handlers stayed safely behind the tree line. 12 hunters, 6 war beasts, and something big moving through the trees to our east, Jake reported from his position. Lisa checked her weapon one last time. They were outnumbered 3-1, low on ammunition, and trapped in a cave with limited escape routes. Perfect. Remember, she said into her comm, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to make them remember it. The attack began at sunset. The war beasts charged the cave entrance and triggered Tony's first line of explosives. The blast lit up the jungle like daylight and sent chunks of alien flesh flying in all directions. 2 beasts died instantly, and a third limped away, with half its face missing. The Kethvar hunters opened fire with their plasma weapons, but the humans were ready. They had learned to use the alien technology and turned it against its makers. Green energy bolts crisscrossed the jungle as both sides fought for survival. Lisa emerged from cover and fired 3 quick shots at a Kethvar position. 1 bolt missed, but the other 2 found their target. The alien's armor held, but the impact knocked him backward into a tree. They're flanking left, Maria shouted, spinning to engage new targets. The battle raged for 20 minutes. When it was over, the jungle was littered with bodies, both human and alien. Tony lay motionless beside his improvised weapons, a smile still on his face. Jake had taken a plasma bolt to the chest, but was still breathing. Maria sat against the cave wall, her left shoulder a mass of burns. Lisa stood in the center of the carnage, bleeding from a dozen wounds, but still alive. Around her lay the bodies of 8 Kethvar hunters and all 6 war beasts. She looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere above them, aliens were watching their entertainment. She raised her middle finger toward the cameras and spoke clearly. Is this what you call sport? Come down here and try it yourself, you cowards. Then she collapsed beside her friends and waited for the end. The first HFY colony world had no warning. Admiral Catherine Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance as it materialized in the HFY Delta system. The experimental jump drive had worked perfectly, dropping them into orbit around the alien colony without triggering any early warning systems. Population scan complete, reported Lieutenant Commander Nancy Phillips. 3 billion inhabitants across 4 continents, major cities here, here, and here. She highlighted targets on the main display. Brooks studied the peaceful world below. Green oceans, white clouds, and sprawling cities that sparkled in the light of the system's yellow sun. It looked almost like Earth from this distance. Any military installations? She asked. Orbital defense platforms around the major population centers, replied Colonel Morrison from his position at the tactical station. Standard plasma cannons and missile systems. Nothing that can threaten us. Brooks nodded. The USS Vengeance was humanity's most advanced warship, built using technology that had been theoretical just months before. Its armor could absorb direct hits from nuclear weapons. Its shields could deflect energy beams. Its weapons could crack planets. Admiral, Phillips said hesitantly. The inhabitants down there, most of them are probably civilians, families, children, workers who have nothing to do with the hunting parties. Brooks turned to face her communication officer. Phillips was young, maybe 25 years old. She had joined the fleet to explore space and make contact with new civilizations. This was not what she had signed up for. Lieutenant Commander, display the recording from Haven's Edge again. The main screen showed the footage from Lisa Martinez's helmet camera, Huntmaster Varric explaining how humans would be hunted for sport. The trophy room filled with skulls from dozens of species. The casual way he discussed which creatures had provided good entertainment before being killed. Those people down there watch this hunt as entertainment, Brooks said quietly. They cheered when our Marines were captured. They placed bets on how long humans would survive. They made our people's suffering into a game show. Phillips stared at the screen, her face pale. This is not about revenge, Brooks continued. This is about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. The message is simple. If you hunt humans, humans will hunt you back. She turned to Morrison. Deploy all antimatter warheads. Target the major population centers. Yes, ma'am. Brooks opened a communication channel to the other ships in the human fleet. 12 vessels hung in space around the HFY world, each one armed with weapons that could sterilize continents. All ships, this is Admiral Brooks. Operation Retribution is now active. Fire at will. The antimatter warheads struck the planet's surface simultaneously. Each explosion was brighter than the sun, turning sand into glass and rock into vapor. The major cities vanished in microseconds, along with everyone in them. Brooks watched dispassionately as 3 billion lives ended in nuclear fire. There had been no warning, no demand for surrender, no chance for evacuation. One moment the HFY were going about their daily lives, and the next moment they simply ceased to exist. Jump to the next target, she ordered. The USS Vengeance vanished from the Delta system, leaving behind a dead world. Meanwhile, Colonel Morrison's Special Forces teams were conducting simultaneous raids across known HFY space. Unlike the orbital bombardment, these operations were surgical strikes designed to capture intelligence and eliminate key targets. Captain Danny Wright led a 12-man team onto the surface of HFY Prime, the species' homeworld. They materialized in the center of the capital city using personal jump devices that made them nearly invisible to alien sensors. Remember, Wright whispered into his comm, we're not here to fight fair. We're here to win. The team moved through the city like ghosts. They planted chemical weapons in the water supply, uploaded computer viruses into the planetary communication network, and assassinated high-ranking officials in their homes. When the local security forces finally responded, the humans had already completed their mission and vanished. The chemical weapons were particularly effective. Dr. Helen Carter had designed them specifically to target HFY biology. The aliens who survived the initial exposure suffered from hallucinations, paranoia, and eventual organ failure. Within hours, the capital city was in chaos. Similar operations were taking place across the Kethvar Empire. Human teams struck military bases, government buildings, and industrial facilities. They used biological agents that turned the aliens' own immune systems against them. They deployed psychological warfare programs that broadcast terrifying images and sounds into Kethvar homes. They poisoned food supplies and contaminated medical facilities. The Kethvar had never faced an enemy like this. They were used to honorable combat, rules of engagement, and civilized warfare. The humans ignored all concepts of military honor and fought like a plague given intelligence. On the bridge of the USS Vengeance, Admiral Brooks received reports from across the battle zone. Kethvar Beta system destroyed, Phillips announced. No survivors detected. Gamma system under bombardment, estimated completion in 30 minutes. Special forces report successful strikes on 18 military installations. Brooks nodded and moved to the next target on her list. The Kethvar had 14 colony worlds and 3 major population centers. In the past 48 hours, humanity had reduced that to 6 colonies and 1 major world. Admiral, we're receiving surrender transmissions from multiple Kethvar systems, Phillips reported. They're offering to return our people, pay tribute, provide technology. Ignore them, Brooks replied without emotion. Ma'am, some of these messages are coming from systems we haven't even attacked yet. They're begging for mercy. Brooks pulled up the tactical display showing Kethvar space. Red markers indicated worlds that had been destroyed. Yellow markers showed worlds under attack. Green markers represented targets that were still intact. The time for mercy was before they decided. To hunt humans for entertainment, she said. Continue the bombardment. The systematic destruction of the Kethvar Empire continued for another day. Each world died the same way, with antimatter fire from orbit followed by special forces teams to ensure no survivors escaped. Humanity had developed the process into a science. On Zerion Prime, the moon where Lisa Martinez and her team were fighting for their lives, the Kethvar hunt masters watched their civilization burn. The entertainment broadcast from the human hunt had been replaced by emergency transmissions from dying worlds. This is impossible, Huntmaster Varric said, staring at the reports. 18 billion of our people are dead. How can one species move so quickly? His aide was trembling. The humans aren't fighting like any species we've encountered before. They don't follow the rules of war. They don't distinguish between military and civilian targets. They don't accept surrender. Varric thought about the trophy room aboard his ship. Hundreds of skulls from creatures his people had hunted over the centuries. Each one had been a thinking, feeling being with families and dreams. Send a message to the human fleet, he ordered. Tell them we surrender. Tell them we'll return their people and never hunt another human again. The response came back within minutes. Surrender not accepted. Prepare to die. Varric realized with growing horror that the humans were treating the Kethvar exactly the way the Kethvar had treated other species, as prey to be exterminated without mercy or consideration. The final Kethvar world died as the sun set over Zerion Prime. Humanity had turned an empire of 20 billion beings into radioactive dust in less than 72 hours. Admiral Brooks stood on her bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in the darkness, other alien civilizations were watching and learning. They had seen what happened when you made the mistake of hunting humans. Set course for Zerion Prime, she ordered. It's time to collect our people. Lisa Martinez woke up in a hospital bed aboard the USS Vengeance. The last thing she remembered was collapsing in the alien jungle after the final battle. Now she was staring at a white ceiling with the gentle hum of human technology around her. Welcome back, Lieutenant, said a familiar voice. Lisa turned her head and saw Admiral Catherine Brooks sitting in a chair beside her bed. The Admiral looked tired with dark circles under her eyes, but her expression was calm. Admiral? Lisa tried to sit up but winced as pain shot through her ribs. Easy. You've been unconscious for 6 days. The medical team had to rebuild most of your left shoulder and remove a lot of alien plant toxins from your bloodstream. Lisa looked around the medical bay. In the bed next to her, Captain Jake Sullivan was sleeping peacefully. His chest rose and fell steadily, and the burns on his face were healing well. Across the room, Staff Sergeant Maria Santos was awake and talking quietly with a doctor. "Jake and Maria made it?" Lisa asked. "They did. You all did, thanks to some very brave rescue teams." Lisa frowned. "Rescue teams? How did you find us?" Admiral Brooks leaned back in her chair. "We tracked the HFY hunting ship to Zarian Prime. By the time we arrived, you had already won your little war down there." 12 dead HFY hunters, 6 dead war beasts, and 1 very impressive final stand. The alien command ship was so busy trying to figure out how 4 humans had destroyed an entire hunting party that they didn't notice our strike team boarding their vessel. Lisa closed her eyes, remembering Tony Garcia's smile as he died. "We lost Tony. Sergeant Garcia died a hero. His improvised explosives saved all of your lives. What happened to the aliens? The ones who captured us?" Admiral Brooks was quiet for a long moment. "The HFY Empire no longer exists, Lieutenant." Lisa stared at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean we destroyed it. Completely. 20 billion aliens are dead. Their worlds are radioactive wasteland. The survivors have been relocated to a single planet under permanent quarantine." The words didn't seem real. Lisa tried to process what she was hearing. 20 billion? For 5 Marines? For the principal, Brooks corrected. They decided that intelligent life had no value, that thinking beings could be hunted for sport. We responded by showing them what it means to be prey. Lisa thought about Hunt Master Varric and his casual explanation of the hunt, the trophy room filled with skulls, the way he talked about other species like they were animals. The other species they hunted, what about them? We found records of 47 different civilizations that the HFY had used as hunting stock over the past 1,000 years. Most of them are extinct now. Some survive in small numbers on primitive worlds, still traumatized by what happened to them. Brooks stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Lisa could see stars in the dark shape of other human ships. "We've contacted the survivors," the Admiral continued. "Told them what happened to the HFY. Most of them are afraid of us now. They think we're just another predator species that will hunt them next." "Are we?" Lisa asked quietly. Brooks turned back to face her. "That depends on them. As long as they treat humans with respect, they have nothing to fear. But if any species ever decides to hunt us again..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. Over the next few days, Lisa learned more about Earth's response to the HFY hunt, the systematic destruction of an entire empire, the refusal to accept surrender or negotiate, the complete elimination of 20 billion beings in less than a week. "It was necessary," General Peter Hayes explained during one of his visits. "We couldn't let other species think that humans were easy targets. Now they know the price of aggression. Doctor." Helen Carter was less comfortable with what had happened. "We've become the thing the galaxy fears most," she said. "A species that will commit genocide without hesitation." "Good," replied Colonel Morrison. "Let them fear us. Fear keeps people honest." Lisa found herself conflicted about the whole situation. Part of her was satisfied that the HFY had paid for their crimes, but part of her wondered if humanity had gone too far. She got her answer when she met one of the HFY survivors. The alien was brought aboard the USS Vengeance under heavy guard. He was young by HFY standards, barely an adult when his civilization fell. His name was Sektar, and he had been working as a simple technician on one of the outer colonies when the human fleet arrived. "I watched my family die," he said, through the translation device. His voice was hollow, broken. "My parents, my siblings, my children, all gone in a flash of light." Lisa looked at the creature that had once been part of a proud warrior race. Now he was a shell of a being, traumatized, beyond repair. "Did you know about the hunts?" she asked. Sektar nodded slowly. "Everyone knew. It was entertainment. We watched the broadcasts, cheered for our hunters, placed bets on how long the prey would last." "And you never thought about the creatures being killed?" "They were just prey," Animals. We didn't think of them as people like us. Lisa stared at him. Now you know how it feels. The HFY survivor looked up at her with eyes full of pain. Your species is more terrible than we ever were. We hunted for sport, for honor. You hunt for extinction. We hunt to survive, Lisa corrected, and to make sure no one ever makes the mistake of hunting us again. Months later, Lisa was promoted to colonel and given command of humanity's new Alien Relations Division. Her job was to make contact with other species and ensure they understood the rules of interaction with humans. The rules were simple. Treat humans with respect, and humans would treat you with respect. Try to harm humans, and humans would destroy you completely. The galaxy had become a quieter place after the HFY War. Other predatory species reconsidered their expansion plans. Trade negotiations became more polite. Diplomatic protocols grew more careful. Lisa often thought about the message humanity had sent to the stars. It wasn't a message of peace or friendship, it was a message of deterrence, a promise that some actions would have consequences beyond imagination. She stood in her office on Earth, looking out at the night sky. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were watching and learning. They had seen what happened when you made the mistake of hunting humans for sport. The HFY had learned too late that humans didn't just fight back when threatened. They fought to eliminate the threat completely and forever. On the quarantine world where the last few thousand HFY survivors lived out their days, the story of the human war was passed down from parent to child. It became a cautionary tale about the price of hubris. The humans had kept their promise. No species had attempted to hunt humans since the fall of the HFY Empire. The galaxy had learned that humanity was not prey. They were predators. The apex predators. And they would never forget and never forgive those who tried to hunt them for sport. In the end, the HFY had gotten exactly what they asked for. They had wanted to hunt humans for entertainment. Instead, they became the entertainment, as the galaxy watched their civilization burn and learned what happened to those who threatened humanity. The message was clear. Humans were not to be hunted. They were the hunters now.